Hey there. Lecture 3 of Chapter 15 coming at ya. I'm roasting in the sun. There's a big scary spider behind me because today, well, you can't really tell. Well, I guess I could just do that. Today is actually Halloween, so I look like I'm in just this regular plain old jersey, but it's actually my Halloween shirt. Although you're not going to be watching this until like after Thanksgiving, so that kind of lets you know. I juggle a lot of balls when it comes to teaching this class of the current stuff, the future stuff, the grading of the past stuff. It's just a joy. No, it's not. Anyway, we are getting technical, and now we're starting to get to the information that I really think is cool. And I usually need a board to draw this on, and I need it better than what I can do with this stupid tablet. So I should have checked things out ahead of time. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we're really just talking about these next few slides. They're not a big deal. They are a big deal. They're kind of cool, but it's a lot of words and it's kind of scary. So I want to just kind of start with a whiteboard, which means I want to insert a page break, get another clear. Okay, so somehow I have a clear page and I don't know which one's clear. Oh, none of them. Okay, I guess trying to get white paper. All right, we'll just do a new one. Blank page. There you go. Where are you, blank page? Oh, thought I eliminated myself. Okay. Had it right there. Okay. So let's see. Draw. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do, guys. Give me a second. All right, I guess I can do it this. So let's start with the parasympathetic neurons, right? I hate that my handwriting is so ridiculous. And we know that it's a longer pre, a shorter post. We know that they both release acetylcholine, okay? So, and we know that it's a craniosacral origin. And you should be comfortable with that because we've talked about it a little bit. So now we're going to have some vocabulary. If you are a neuron that releases acetylcholine, I'm going to even spell it out. That means that you are a cholinergic neuron. And cholinergic neurons are all preganglionic neurons, irregardless of if you're sympathetic or parasympathetic. And it's all parasympathetic post. Oh, somebody's out there shooting. Because we saw here's acetylcholine with the pre, here's acetylcholine with the post, right? So those are cholinergic neurons. And there is also sympathetic nervous system postganglionic neurons that talk to sweat glands. For whatever reason, who knows? Okay? Now, if you are a receptor that binds acetylcholine, so you're kind of on the other end, right, because it'll diffuse or cross, you are a cholinergic receptor. Okay, so cholinergic receptor binds acetylcholine. Now, there is actually, even though they both bind acetylcholine, there are two types of receptors, two types of cholinergic receptors. There is a nicotinic receptor, because these also bind to nicotine, and there is the muscarinic receptor, because these also bind to a poisonous mushroom toxin called muscarine. And these receptors are on the receiving end, because acetylcholine will diffuse across and bind to these receptors. We find the nicotinic receptors on all sympathetic and postsympathetic. All sympathetic and parasympathetic. This is why I shouldn't do this on a Sunday. Post-ganglion, so guy number 2, neurons, are all nicotinic receptors, right? So I'll even just say guy number 2. The adrenal medulla is a nicotinic receptor, and the motor end plate at all neuromuscular junction, I'm just going to say NMJ, are all nicotinic, and they all get stimulated. Where's my pen go? Where are you, pen? Oh. So it's all stimulatory by acetylcholine. Well, that was just the nicotinic. I'm like, wait a minute, I still have to talk about muscarinic. Muscarinic is all effectors of the parasympathetic postganglionic guy. So whoever guy number 2 talks to, ganglion neuron. It's the effector. So all effectors of parasympathetic are muscarinic and sweat glands of the sympathetic post guy. Okay, guy number 2. Remember, the sympathetic nervous system talks to sweat glands. And for muscarinic, the response by these guys might be to turn them on, and it might be to turn them off. It's different. We're going to just leave it at that until we go back to the PowerPoint. But what's important to think about is this is all about acetylcholine. And acetylcholine, right? This is all about acetylcholine. And you want to remember that acetylcholine gets broken down very easily. Very easily by acetylcholine esterase. So there's no, can I read over here? Oh, there, can I? Oh, nope. There's no long-term effects of what's going on in the parasympathetic nervous system. It's just in the minute because it gets broken down. Right? So no long-term effects. Residual, I should say. All right, so let's jump to the PowerPoint for the parasympathetic, and then we'll do the same thing. Or maybe we can just do it off of the PowerPoint. Okay, so autonomic nervous system, neurotransmitter, and receptors. So based on the neurotransmitter they produce and release, autonomic neurons are either cholinergic or the other one is adrenergic. So neurons that release acetylcholine are cholinergic. Receptors that bind to them are cholinergic, but there's 2 different types. There's nicotinic and there's muscarinic. Adrenergic neurons release norepinephrine. So let's look here. All right, so this is parasympathetic, and this is the guy I'm starting with. So I have the preganglionic neuron releasing acetylcholine, the postganglionic neuron releasing acetylcholine, and then it's the effector cell, and this looks like it's smooth muscle. Okay, so this is saying that I can have a receptor, the receptor that will bind acetylcholine. So the receptor on guy number 2 is nicotinic. The receptors that are on the effector cells are muscarinic. So cholinergic neurons, who are the guys that release acetylcholine? All sympathetic and parasympathetic pre-guys, so guy number 1. And this all parasympathetic postganglionic neurons, guy number 2. And sympathetic postganglionic neurons that talk to sweat glands. So the receptors on the other end that will bind to acetylcholine are either nicotinic or muscarinic. Nicotinic receptors will always be excited. They are on all the postganglionic neurons. And they're at the neuromuscular junction, and in the adrenal medulla. The muscarinic receptors are on all effectors of the parasympathetic system. Sometimes I might turn them on, or I might turn them off. Depolarized means it's going to stimulate. Hyperpolarized means it's going to inhibit. And then most sweat glands. Okay. I'm not ready for that guy yet. Let me move my little box here. Put me over here for now. All right, so let's try not to maybe not go to the Microsoft Word and look at these diagrams. Oh, well, regarding the sympathetic nervous system, I'm going to have to go there anyway. So for this sympathetic nervous system, guy number 1 releases acetylcholine. That's right. So the preganglionic neuron always will release acetylcholine, and guy number 2 will bind it. So they're cholinergic, but it's a nicotinic receptor. Now, if guy number 2 releases norepinephrine, it's going to get bound by an adrenergic receptor. So that's very funny because, and the other one's a sweat gland. Whoop. Yeah. So I guess we have to go back to this. Where's that? 2 types, nicotinic, muscarinic. Can I insert another blank page? See where it goes. Okay, yes I can. I'm not sure where it went. No, I guess it's good enough. All right, so let's get drawing. Cancel. I'm trying to get to the draw, and I'm trying to, let's go with red. Okay, so where am I? Nope. It's like all of a sudden it's not working. Let's get me over there. Okay, there I am. So for the sympathetic nervous system, right, we had the short pre, the long post, and then we go to our effectors, right? Long post. We had our spinal cord here. We have a craniosacral origin. And we know that guy number 1 releases acetylcholine. So that made him a cholinergic neuron. And we also knew that the receptor on guy number 2 was a nicotinic receptor. Nicotinic receptor. Now, guy number 2, however, releases norepinephrine. So if you are a neuron that releases norepinephrine, I'm just going to say NE, you are cholinergic neuron. Okay. If you bind, no, not cholinergic. Oh, crap. Sorry about that, guys. You are adrenergic neuron, like adrenaline. Adrenergic neuron. Ugh, I hate that I did that. Because you release norepinephrine. If you bind to norepinephrine, you are an adrenergic receptor. Okay? So when we talk about adrenergic receptors, there are kind of 2 types. There's an alpha type and there's a beta type, right? This is alpha, this is beta. But I have subtypes. So I have like an alpha 1, an alpha 2, and I have a beta 1, a beta 2, and a beta 3. So these receptors that are binding to norepinephrine are located in very specific spots in the body. Oof, like the alpha 1 are in smooth muscle. I'm not going to write all the locations, probably in a table somewhere. Smooth muscles, and they could be stimulatory when they bind. I have other ones, alpha 2, that are inhibitory, that are also in other blood vessels. Some are in the large blood vessels of the heart versus, and they're in the pancreas. And so they inhibit the pancreas. Beta 1 is stimulatory, and that's in the heart. So I go through talking about these receptors because there's drugs based on them. And if you can control a receptor, you can control that organ. So when I have a beta blocker, it's blocking the receptors on the heart that would normally be binding norepinephrine. So when I'm in sympathetic nervous system mode and my heart is racing, I take a beta blocker to slow my heart down because it's suppressing that sympathetic nervous system activity. I have beta 2 receptors in the smooth muscle of airways. And I don't say if it's inhibitory or stimulatory. Beta 3 is in like fat, adipose tissue. So these are all very specialized on the organ. So if we figure out what organ has what kind of receptor, we can control it with a drug that either mimics it. So if I mimic, that means I'm an agonist. If I block, that means I'm an antagonist. Right? So there's some vocabulary here. And when I'm talking about norepinephrine, now remember, some of it goes into the bloodstream, gets dumped into the blood. There's no enzyme that breaks it down. So it lingers, right? It takes a while to come off that adrenaline surge because there's nothing breaking it down until it goes through the blood to the liver, and the liver slowly works it out. And that's why when you're in sympathetic nervous system mode, it takes a little bit more to just come off of that crazy rush. There's no acetylcholinesterase, there's no norepinephrine esterase to just make it be local and quick. Okay. Cholinergic, here's the adrenergic. So adrenergic neurons release norepinephrine. We're doing for time, not bad. And it's most of the sympathetic postganglionic neurons and adrenergic receptors bind norepinephrine. So I can have an alpha 1, an alpha 2, or beta 1, beta 2, or beta 3. And it'll bind both norepinephrine and epinephrine. I will either be turned on or inhibited, depends, and slower to get rid of the effects. Effect is longer lasting. Here's a nice little table talking about the nicotinic and the muscarinic receptors binding acetylcholine. And then here's, like I said, it's in the table, my alpha 1. So let's look at this for a second. Smooth muscle and blood vessels that serve salivary glands. And when I activate that, they're going to contract, which means that I'm going to decrease saliva. Right? When you're really nervous, you have dry mouth. I'm turning off digestive functions to activate skeletal muscle, respiratory, and heart. They're in the kidneys and other muscles of the eye. It's going to dilate the pupil by making it contract. Closed sphincters of digestive system. So digestive system is shut down. Salivary glands. Okay. Then the sweat. It's going to increase my sweating. Alpha 2, where are you? Also in some blood vessels, causing me to vasodilate. So here you go. This is like a blood pressure medication. Is going to probably, maybe do the type of vasodilation. I'm not sure if it's like an alpha 2 receptor or whatever. It's in the pancreas to inhibit digestion. All right, beta 1 is in my heart, causing it to beat faster and harder. It's going to talk to my posterior pituitary to release a hormone that will cause me to retain water, which will increase blood pressure as well, and some adipose cells to break down fat. Beta 2 receptors are in my airways. Now it inhibits them, which will dilate the airways. Blood vessels that serve the heart, getting more blood flow around the heart, skeletal muscle, and that sort of thing. And then beta 3 in brown adipose tissue. So when we know the locations of the receptor types, we can have prescription drugs. You can take a drug that can control that organ. I can inhibit acetylcholinesterase activity to break down acetylcholine. I can block receptors. And that's, let's see, does it say it here? Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's what this one drug atropine does. It blocks receptors, so it's when they put it in your eyes to dilate your pupils, it's going to block the constriction so that they open up. It can be used to prevent salivation, so it's not that it's stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, it's just blocking the parasympathetic nervous system. If you have low levels of acetylcholine and you want it stuck around a little bit more for a stronger contraction, you'll take a drug that blocks it from being broken down. Things like that. Now, this is also like your medications, your cold and allergy medications. They're stimulating the alpha receptors. Or I had, the beta blocker. So there's the beta blocker for the heart. There's beta, I think this one's kind of screwed up. Other beta medications to dilate the lung bronchioles, right? What is that? Let me see that smooth muscle to inhibit it, so to relax. Yeah. All right. I guess I'm okay with that one. All right. Oh, here we go. So, this is also just kind of tying into the fact that, you know what, why fix a problem when I can make a drug that makes you have to take it every day for the rest of your life? I make a lot more money off of just treating symptoms than treating the actual original problem. So I have nicotinic agents in smoking cessation products because, let's see, it will stimulate sympathetic effects, blood pressure rises. Well, I don't have too much to say about that one. I have more about it's kind of like these guys, sympathomimetic agents. So they're ones that look like the sympathetic nervous system, so they enhance that activity, like albuterol to dilate bronchioles by binding to those beta-2 receptors. Phenylephrine to bind to alpha receptors to decrease mucus production. Or I've got beta blockers blocking receptors to manage blood pressure. And those are decreasing, not enhancing that activity, right? There's a lot of money in this. This slide's worth a lot of money. That's what I'm saying. Show me the money, right? Not really. So that's what I want to say with that. We're at a half an hour, so I'm going to stop this and wrap up in the last recording. I'm just going to crank it out. Why not, right? We're just gluttons for punishment with this stuff. I just think that's really cool, right? You understand the body enough to know, hey, I can fake it out to elicit a response that I need. Maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not. But I just think it's kind of cool. And that's usually what I stress when I teach this, is just how cool is that? All right, bye for now.